This episode of the Corcoran Entertainment Show is brought to you by Black Box Prompter. Are you a musician tired of being tethered to your tablet or music stand? Do you long to connect with your audience on a deeper level, but find yourself constantly glancing down at your lyrics and chords? Then I highly recommend Black Box Prompter, the smart and stealthy lyrics and chords teleprompter designed to liberate musicians from the stage clutter. This innovative device is perfect for bands, hobbyists jamming out in the garage, touring pros rocking arenas, and even houses of worship looking to elevate their services. It discreetly displays your lyrics and chords, allowing you to maintain eye contact with your audience, adding an extra layer of authenticity and connection to your performance. Don't let distractions hold you back. Unleash your full potential and create a more powerful connection with your audience with Black Box Prompter. Click the link in our episode description and use the promo code Corcoran at checkout for 10% off your purchase. Black Box Prompter, the smart teleprompter built for musicians by musicians. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Franky Corcoran. Happy Canada Day, everybody. Yes, first episode of July. Hope everybody is having a great summer so far. Hope everyone's staying safe today. If you're partying, if you're going out to the parade, whatever you're doing, celebrating our amazing country. Just have fun today, guys. Be good to others, and hope you're enjoying the podcast on, for those of you guys not working today, if you're just lounging, listening to this while you're doing housework, whatever it is, we appreciate it. I appreciate it anyway. Not really much to say in terms of what's going on around here. I mean, of course, there's a New Maritime Beer Fest, which is going on, and I think that's fantastic too. Gave a little plug for that already. There's that. And we also have Sunny Corner Days, Irish Fest, amazing summer ahead. And I'm looking forward to it all. And I'm actually pretty excited too. We're in rehearsals for a show that I'm doing with CM Productions in August called Present Laughter by Noel Coward. That is August 14th to the 17th at Miramichi Valley. More info is going to come later on. And so sorry if my voice sounds weird. My voice has been doing this like every now and then, where it just feels like I just have gravel in my throat and it's all groggy, whatever. So apologies if that's how it sounds. You guys probably couldn't even tell maybe, and I'm just saying it because I feel it. But anyways, so moving on with the show today, I'm kind of just like going off the top of my head here. I normally have notes of things that I want to say in the intro, but there's not really anything I can think of today. So let's just move on to our guest, Nicholas Tabarrok. He's the founder of his own production company, Darius Films. He's worked with a lot of amazing actors over the years, Ron Perlman, Ethan Hawke, among many others, and just a great guy, great conversation. We talk a lot about the industry and, getting your foot in the door. Lots of great stuff. He was a great lad to chat with, and I was very grateful for the opportunity. So thank you, Nicholas, for coming on. And guys, be sure to follow Darius Films and Nicholas Tabarrok on Instagram and keep up to date with all other amazing projects that are upcoming. Later in the show, I want to give my thoughts on The Simpsons apparently killing off Marge. We'll talk about it. And The Walking Dead Dead City Season 2 is in the can. Was it good? Was it bad? Do we like it? Do we not? Let's talk about it. Spoilers for that show will come as well. That is a spoiler-filled review. So anyways, guys, without further ado, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast today. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. I am your host, Franky Corcoran, and today I am joined by a very talented film producer, CEO, the driving force behind Darius Films. He's been in the industry for a while, produced over, 40 films, is it?
It's getting there now. Yeah, I haven't counted lately, but it's about 40. Yep.
Hard to keep track sometimes. You would do so much. That's how it goes. Nicholas Tabarrok. Nicholas, how's it going today?
Very well, thank you. Very well, thank you, Frankie.
Well, thanks for coming on. And, first off, congratulations on all of your success. You're, of course, the CEO, founder, CEO of Darius Films. What can you tell us about what is Darius Films for those of us wondering what is, let's say, the company's mission, so to speak?
Sure. So I guess the first thing I'd say is, yes, I'm the founder. CEO is probably a bit of a grandiose title. It's a very small company. We are not Disney or Warner Brothers. Um, we're a small company. We're a boutique film and production company. We have offices in Toronto and Los Angeles. I'm Canadian by birth, born and grew up in Toronto, but moved to Los Angeles about 20 years ago. But I keep an office there. And as I said, we produce both feature films. We've been doing feature films for a long time, about 25 years. And we're a bit newer in television. We turned our attention to television maybe 10, 12 years ago. And we do things in Canada, have nothing to do with Canada, that are partly Canadian, all American, non-American. We produce films, well, I was about to say all around the world, not everywhere. There are a lot more places I haven't been I'd like to go, but we'll produce films in South America, in the Caribbean, in Poland, in Europe, in Ireland. So we sort of geographically independent. We're kind of all over the place by design.
Oh, well, there, it's awesome. So I love you seem very down to earth in the sense that, oh, CEO seems a bit too maybe extravagant.
Yes,
But
yes.
I mean, running a company period takes a lot of work too. So I mean, CEO, is there really a difference, would you say, between a founder and a CEO and an owner? I mean, CEO, I mean, is more so like a big corporation, multiple locations around the world and stuff like that. Is that kind of I think I got that down pat, did I?
Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, when you have these large multinational public corporations, CEOs, they're too big to be to be owned by any one individual. They're public, and to be owned by, it's, typically millions of people have small shares around the world. And then your CEO is really kind of managing the operation. When it's a small company like mine, as a founder, it's an extension of yourself. That's how I feel about it. I have staff, I have a small staff of employees, but really, God forbid, but if I were hit by a bus tomorrow, the company doesn't really exist outside of me. Again, I don't wish this on anyone, but should the CEO of a major multinational corporation, public corporation, come to a demise, there are steps in place for that person to be replaced, and someone's going to take over and run the company from there. Once I'm gone, there isn't really a Darius Films left.
Oh, okay. So don't go anywhere. I'm like,
Yeah,
just
exactly. I
that's
mean, I sort of took a very morbid way of describing the difference, but that's sort of how came to me, is that really, the company of such a size is that it's an extension of myself.
if I go down, everyone's going down.
That's
That's
about it. That's about it.
it's a bleak way to look at it, but
Yes, yes.
that's it. It really is your baby. So how did I mean, like you kind of get started in filmmaking? Is this something that you've always wanted to do? And how did you kind of find that transition to not just having a love for films and stuff, but then also pursuing it as a career? Like, was that kind of a huge leap for you, or if this was something that you were always passionate about, did it just all kind of come second nature to you?
No, it didn't. It was more the former. So, you often hear these stories of people in the business, filmmakers, who it's like they were, loved it as a child, and, their most exciting, happiest childhood memories are watching movies and couldn't wait to get to the, movie on the Saturday and so forth. That wasn't really my story. I mean, I love movies like most people do. Movies are general sort of certainly the Western public seems to enjoy movies. So I enjoyed movies to the extent that kind of everybody did, but I wasn't passionate about it as a teenager, as a young person. That wasn't it never occurred to me to as a career as a teenager, not at all. It wasn't until a bit later in life, in my 20s, I'm going to university. And when I attended university, I still didn't know what I wanted to do as a career. I was kind of dipping my toe in different areas and thoughts, and I sort of had different ideas and didn't really know. But I read a magazine article, and the magazine article described what a film producer does. And immediately upon reading it, I was, oh my God, this is the job for me. And it wasn't so much the love of the end product. It wasn't because I love movies so much. It was that the job was so satisfying because it's an equal mix of right brain, left brain. That half my job is reading scripts and working with writers and watching edits and giving creative feedback on cuts and music and artwork and posters and trailers, which I enjoy thoroughly. And then half my job is looking at spreadsheets and trying to figure out budgets and dealing with lawyers and negotiating contracts, which I also get a tremendous amount of satisfaction out of. And not many jobs are equal parts business and creative. They typically are one or the other. And the idea of being able to split your focus and have a foot in both of those worlds really, really appealed to me. So the notion of getting into the film business as a career didn't even occur to me until I was like sort of early 20s, 22, 23. And I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone in the business. So then I sort of just started at the bottom and worked my way up, but always with an eye to being a film producer. Even when I started in the business, at the very bottom as a PA, production assistant, it was only to be a producer one day. That was the goal.
Right. That's a nice way to kind of put it too. It was just something where you see lots of stories of people who say this is something I've always wanted to do. This was like my passion. As a kid, from the moment I was born, I
Yep.
was filming stuff and everything. But for you, it was kind of different than that, which I really, really do like. Different types of journeys that people take. It's really, really interesting. But for a smaller company, I mean, like you have worked with a lot of amazing people. I mean, Ron Perlman is one too who you've worked with as well too. Is there any other actors like in particular that you've worked with that you kind of go, how did somebody like me book someone like that? Like why what
Yeah.
did I do to deserve this person on my project, you know?
Absolutely. And you mentioned Ron off the top, and Ron is a fantastic human being. And in addition to being a great actor and a well-known actor, we've become friends and we spent a lot of time together, and he's just a great guy. So I'm very, very fortunate to consider Ron in my life and as a friend. But yeah, many actors, as you say, when I was a, you know, teenager growing up, I'm watching Cheers, and the idea of, working with Woody Harrelson was incredible to me that I eventually got to work with him. When I when what was that? Not Cold-Blooded Killers. What was the film he did with Juliette Lewis? The kill that Oliver Stone directed. Um, Oh, I'm forgetting it now, but serial killers, a couple. I love that movie. I absolutely loved it. And of course, Woody was a star of it, and I got to work with Woody. Watching The Thing with Kurt Russell, Big Trouble in Little China, and then working with Kurt Russell was a huge thrill. Nick Nolte I've worked with, and of course, such a great body of work, 48 hours with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. And, I'm watching these movies as a kid. And exactly as you say, 20, 30 years later, I'm having dinner with these people and I'm working with them as colleagues has been a real pleasure and thrill.
Definitely. It's and almost a bit surreal too. Like it's just
Absolutely. There are
why am I
moments.
working with these
Yep,
people? You know,
that's
like
right.
because that's something I go through with podcasting, like even having someone like you on or some of the people, I'm like, why do they choose this podcast of all podcasts? Like there's just that part of me that's like, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I'm just
Yeah.
very surprised, you know? Um what would you say? I mean, like obviously it's one thing to have well-known people in your projects and working with you and who are just very talented. But do you have anything else in particular that you look for in actors, directors, writers, and whatever the case may be for films that's really like it doesn't matter how good you are on screen, it doesn't matter how good you are at your job, you need to be able to do this, this, and this. Is there something in particular that you always look for in a person?
Well, you know, that old expression, that old phrase, life is too short, certainly applies to the film industry. And there are some people that no amount of success, on their part is worth putting up with a nasty person. And I've been very, very lucky. I have not had to work with some of these people you hear about and read about that are awful, terrible human beings. That has not been my experience thus far, so I'm very, very fortunate. The problem, of course, is that you often don't know till it's too late because in this business, you don't know somebody before you work with them. You tend to be, unless it's a repeated, and you're working with the people you've worked with already, of course. But often, writers, directors, actors, you're working with them for the first time. So you don't kind of get the ability or the chance to filter them before you've had a chance to work with them. So, um, to answer your question, all you have to go by is their body of work. So that's really what I'm judging it on. I'm really judging it on what have they done before? What I think of this, in the case of a writer, what do I think of their script? In the case of the director, what do I think of their previous work? Actor, what do I think of their work as an actor? I don't get to say, well, are they decent human beings? Because you just don't know, But as I said, in my past, I've been very, very fortunate to work with great people.
And that's good too. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you kind of have to take those risks, I guess you could say. I mean,
Yeah.
that kind of comes with it. It's uh even like on job for like job interviews and stuff like that, where you can look at someone's reference, call them, and that person will immediately just say they're a great person, hire them basically, and then you hire them, and then they completely fuck you over and quit in like 2 days, like something
That's
that's
happened to me with crew, and because of that, I make it a policy that when people call me, like the easy thing to do is that, yeah, 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 they're great, and not be caught in controversy, not upset anyone, not create any waves. But I think that's really unfair to the person who's calling for a reference. So I've made it a policy now. Whenever somebody calls me for a reference, I'm going to give them an honest reference, good, bad, or ugly. I'm going to say, this person is just not worth it, or they did a terrible job. You owe it to the person asking to give an honest appraisal.
and that's a good way to go about it. Like you hate to, especially if it's a friend of yours who's saying,
Yeah,
"Hey, I'm applying for this job. Can I use you as a reference on my resume?" And you know right off the bat, like, "Oh God, this person
yeah,
is not qualified whatsoever."
yeah.
So if somebody asks me, if is this person someone reliable? Is this someone who can do the job? Part of you says, I don't want to tell them the truth because
Yeah.
that means, that's also my friend, but it's a real tricky situation. So sometimes I've seen lots of people do is just someone asks if they can use them for a reference, and they just say no.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes that's the best way. If it's that old thing. If you have nothing nice to say, say nothing at all. Sometimes it's the best way to handle it.
Exactly. And they could hate you for it, but it's like, hey, buddy, at the end of the day, I'm just saving you because
That's right. Doing you a favor. Yeah, yeah.
that's one way to look at it. But I mean, people can see things from multiple different perspectives. Um, Tell me a little bit about some of the challenges, or maybe not necessarily challenges, but balancing sort of the creative vision of a film with also, the realities and the hardships that come along the way, including, budgets, productions, maybe angry, disgruntled employees, as we kind of been talking about here. Like, how do you kind of balance both where you're like, I want to give it the best, I want to make the best film possible, but oh shit, I have all this other stuff that I got to manage too. Like, do you ever worry if you're taking on too much that it'll kind of affect the quality, or have you kind of gotten good at managing both?
You really hit the crux of what a producer's doing all day long. I mean, it's a very smart question, very astute question. because that really is very, very much of what a responsible producer's job is. Because on the one hand, you want to deliver the best film possible. You want to help support and execute the director's vision, and you want to give the distributor and the buyers the best bang for the buck they possibly can. You want to give the actors all this support you can give them. So it is, the producer's job to maximize the production value and quality of the movie. However, you say yes to everything, and you're going to run out of money, and you're going to go over budget. So you have to say no all the time. I mean, you are constantly saying no to people. Now, I've never had the experience of working on a $300 million, Marvel movie, Star Wars movie, one of these giant films. So maybe it's not the same on those. Mission Impossible, probably nobody says no to Tom Cruise, is my guess. But that's not the world in which I exist in. So in my world, in the budgets I work with, you're always saying no, but you have to pick and choose because if you say yes to everything, you're making everybody happy, but you're going to go over budget and you're not going to be able to finish the movie. If you say no to everything, you're going to stay on budget and you're going to watch the money okay, but you're not going to deliver the best movie possible. So you have to decide, what do I say yes to? What do I say no to? It's a real balancing act.
And that's a great way to put it. You if you have people, or if you're just the person who just says yes, 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 yes
Yep,
to everything, eventually one of those yeses is going to bite you in the ass, and you're going to say, why
absolutely.
did I say yes to this? Because whether it caused us to go over budget, we lost some money, or also this the fact that agreed to do this cost me this,
Yep,
and this happened. Like, so there's so many different factors that you got to be able to put your foot down. And it's always good to have yes and no people. The no
yep,
people, if they say no to an idea that you like, yeah, it sucks, but that's the industry.
yep.
It's a whole collaborative process. How are you with the like bouncing ideas off of like your fellow writers, actors, directors? I always say it's great to have um even me doing theater and stuff and directing a play. It's funny, you'll have an actor who will say, I have a thought, but I don't want to say it. I'm like, no, 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 I want everyone to give their opinions. I can tell you, like, yeah, I like it, let's do it. But if I don't like it, you just gotta suck it up. So
Yep.
how do you kind of deal with that, with like getting feedback from your team?
I one of the things I love about this business is that it's a collaborative medium. And my favorite part of it, really, I mean, there's lots about about the business and the job I enjoy, but I probably enjoy the most working with writers in the development stage. I mean, I really enjoy the written word. And I love working with writers and bouncing ideas around and coming up with stories and what can we do to make this better? Is there something we're forgetting? Or, is there an idea that we have? And that's a really fun and process for me. But it continues, it's there on set, it's there on the edit room, it's there when you're working with composers and mixers. So I really enjoy that process. And I'm a huge believer that collaboration is always going to lead to the best product. And I think you see this often. You take the most talented actors, writers, directors, whatever, when they get too powerful, when they get to a point where nobody is saying no, where there's no checks and balances, that's never their best work. That it's never you need constraints. Constraints lead to and counter opinions lead to the best possible work. So I always feel that if I'm working with a writer, they may be way more talented than me as a writer. I can't write a script, but that doesn't mean that I can't make their script just a little bit better. And I believe that every script I've ever made, every script I've ever turned into a movie has been improved upon by my input. Maybe not substantially, maybe not, by a huge margin. I'm not saying it turned a disaster into a masterpiece, but if it's, I think I've added a little something to make the finished product better. And that's a very satisfying, part of what I do is that I feel the collaborative aspect is incredibly rewarding and necessary. Again, if you the one man, every buck stops here and every final decision is made here, that's never leading to the best end product.
Yeah, that's the thing. Especially I find the most that'll happen in like comedies and stuff too, where you have a script, yes, of course, but when you're blocking it out and everything, somebody could see or like an actor could think of something really, really funny that makes everybody else laugh, and the director could just say, "No, don't do that." So it's one of those things where you okay, you're the director, you told me not to do it, but at the same time, this is a guaranteed laugh. Like, you're really not going to let me use that. It'd be different if it was something that was like so offensive or something that was so outrageous that it's like, okay, we can't put this on, otherwise we're going to get in serious trouble or we're going to get canceled or something. So that's really the one thing I really love about making this stuff is just the collaborative or the collaborative process is truly, I think it's really amazing, and it makes us better as people. Like, is that something that you can agree on? It makes people better even if they aren't pursuing film or TV as like their retirement career. Like, this is something they're going to do till they drop dead. But even if they leave to go do another job, that those skills that they develop carry over into whatever other position they're doing. Is that something that you agree with?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head that the lessons you learn in a general sense, maybe not this is where the camera goes, this is how I edit a movie, but this is how groups come together and pool their ideas and thoughts together to make the best possible product that, you know, the end product is greater than the sum of its parts. That is a lesson that applies widely, I think across the board in any endeavor. So, and I do think that you can learn that in the film business and apply it widely.
The Corkin Entertainment Show is brought to you by Podmatch, the ultimate platform designed to connect podcast hosts with prospective guests effortlessly. Are you a podcaster looking to elevate your show to new heights? Or perhaps you're a guest hoping to share your story with a broader audience? Whatever your podcasting goals are, we have the perfect solution for you. Podmatch simplifies the entire process of discovering guests for your show or finding podcasts to feature your expertise. Now imagine a platform where you can easily match with like-minded creators tailored specifically to your niche. With Podmatch, you can effortlessly network with influencers and thought leaders, all while staying true to your podcast vision. There are a multitude of ways that Podmatch can help you grow your brand. You can be part of a thriving community of podcasters and potential guests. Engage, collaborate, and grow together. If you're ready to experience these fantastic benefits for yourself, we invite you to join Podmatch today. Head over to www.joinpodmatch.com/Corkin Entertainment and sign up right now for only $6 a month. That's right, you heard me right, $6 a month. Join the Podmatch family today and watch your podcast soar to new altitudes. Thank you for tuning into the Corkin Entertainment Show, and happy podcasting. Yes, 100%. 100%. One of my favorite videos that I saw, it was a Facebook reel. It was this guy who was giving this big speech and saying, if you want to do this, hire, like, if you want someone who is gonna finish something on a deadline and, whatever, hire a theater kid. You want to hire a
Oh,
theater kid.
interesting.
It
Right. Yeah.
was, I
Yeah.
can't remember what the video was now, but I think if you just type in hire a theater kid, I think I've showed it to like everybody. It's
Interesting.
just,
Yeah.
it's
I
so
like
good
that.
because it's one of those things where people just say, when are you ever going to use these skills in real life? This right there is a perfect example of, like, say you're a set designer, if you go off to work as a laborer, or you go off to work in construction or something like that. Well, you were a set builder, you did sets and stuff like that, so you kind of got lots of experience in that field, so there's lots of skills that you develop. And I say, if you're pursuing art, or you're pursuing film or theater, whatever the case may be, as a career, you need to have lots of different skills. You need to be very multifaceted in that way. If you're acting, okay, you're acting in this show, okay, good. Next show you're not going to get a part, so you got to work behind the scenes and pick up a job there, and then maybe another company has a something for you in as like a director for this play. Like you got to
Yeah.
go bounce from project to project. How have you been in terms of I mean, you're a producer and owner of a company. I mean, have you worked in any other type of uh like whether it's acting or writing or stuff like that? Have you ever worked in any of those types of fields before, or was it just purely just producing?
I mean, never writing and directing, at least not outside of university, once I finished university. But before, you don't start your job as a producer. Nobody's that kind of fortunate. But so I was different jobs in the film industry leading to producing. I was a production assistant, I was a production accountant, I was a production manager, I was a line producer. But I was never another creative endeavor. I was never and I don't today write, direct, act. I only produce. It is a full-time job. It's not something that you sort of do. I mean, some people obviously, are multi-talented. George Clooney writes, directs, stars. That's not me. But no, I'm solely a producer.
Well, that's good. Like some
I
people
think
just,
so.
yeah,
Yeah,
they just prefer to do one thing, and that's never a bad thing. It's just kind of like if yeah, you can be great on stage, but you don't like to sing. Okay, that's fine. Not it. There's lots of people who are terrific
sure.
actors, but they just don't like to sing, or maybe they can sing and they just don't have any interest in it. So it's you kind of just got to go with what you're comfortable with doing. I was kind of curious too about, being a filmmaker. Uh, I always love talking with people about how streaming has
Yeah.
really kind of taken over things. I mean, obviously the box office has done really, really good with lots of films such as, I mean, unless you're a Marvel movie, I mean, your movies aren't going to be making like billions of dollars or anything. But we have seen lots of movies that have been very, very successful. In your opinion, like, feel free to elaborate on the whole streaming side of things and like the impact it not just has on the industry, but also indie films. I mean, like, I know of lots of indie filmmakers who they find themselves kind of struggling nowadays
Yes.
too, just with the evolving landscape and just how things have changed so drastic, maybe not drastically, but I mean, like, changed
No, fairly
in.
drastic. I don't think drastically is an overstatement. The streaming, the pivot to streaming being the biggest buyer, the biggest outlet for films, has been very, very tough in the indie world and unfortunately detrimental to it. Um, Netflix and Amazon or Hulu and Disney Plus, all these major streaming services, yes, they're spending a lot of money, but they are spending money at the top. They're spending money for few but really large A-list projects, and just because it's top of mind, not to single this film out, but because it's coming out very, very soon. Brad Pitt in this F1 Formula One movie, right? So it's huge movie star. And this is an Apple movie. Huge movie star, big director, massive budget. So Apple may spend, I don't know, 300 million bucks on that movie, maybe 200 million, but they're not going to buy 20 movies at $10 million, which is what I do. So previous to streaming, there were more outlets. You could sell your direct. There was a time at which Blockbuster was financing movies, not just selling them, but they're actually in the financing game. You could have a lesser known title sold at Walmart on DVD, sold, rented at Blockbuster. You could have it in theaters. There are more theater chains. There are independent theater chains. Those are all gone now. So the theater chains only want the huge singular blockbusters, and the streamers only want the huge singular blockbusters. So it's a tough landscape at the moment.
It really is. Like even I mean, as I mentioned, we are seeing lots of films become very successful. Like we had the Minecraft movie, which was like almost $1 billion.
Yeah,
And there's lots like Lilo and Stitch is making lots. I mean, but those are like bigger. Those are like Disney type films. But I
yeah,
remember I was anticipating a lot of movies, in a post-streaming world where Disney Plus is, at one time, I still remember whenever a movie would come out, let's say a movie came out this month. So if a movie came out today, June 23rd, we wouldn't see it on streaming till like around Christmas time.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Nowadays, it's a movie comes out today and you can watch it on Disney Plus in 2 weeks. Like that's just it's kind of a crazy. So I was fully expecting the theater industry to kind of go down, and I mean they still are kind of struggling to a certain extent, with just not only that, but I mean there's also the high costs of everything. They're raising the prices of popcorn and
Yeah.
drinks and stuff. Like it's just insane. Like, do you ever picture the movie theater industry kind of getting back up on its feet fully, or do you kind of see like this is like the new normal for them?
It saddens me to say it, because it's not what I want. It's not what I hope for. But I think it is a permanent down change. I think this is the new normal, is to use your words, which I like. I think that's an accurate way of saying it. I think there'll be less theaters, less screens, and they're going to play just the big giant blockbusters. I think the smaller independent movies are going to be more and more buried and hard to find. So if they get made at all, yeah, I think the theater business is in a permanent contraction. I mean, there'll be a point at which it no longer slows down, but right now it's slowing down, and I don't think it's cyclical. I think it's sort of a permanent downturn.
You hate to say it, but
I hate to say it.
we just look at numbers. We look at what people are saying, and it's
Yeah,
not something that it's almost funny how there are some things where you could say, okay, I don't think the theater industry is going to get back to where it was. People will say, why don't you want it? Like, no, no, no. I'm not saying this is what I want. I'm just
correct.
looking at
Yeah,
what's in front of me. I'm just giving you my honest opinion on what it
yeah,
is, trying to be
that's it.
realistic. Because if you just try to sugarcoat everything,
Yeah,
it goes back to the whole having yes people and no people. If you have people who are just gonna say, don't worry, it's gonna come back up on its feet and we're all gonna live happily ever after and we're gonna watch movies again, versus where we think it's gonna be, where it's the no side of things. It's not
yeah,
really gonna be back to where it was. But what can you do? What can you do? I mean, it really sucks. I mean, like the one thing that really drives me mad about the theaters now. I mean, it's like the prices of popcorn and stuff like that. That doesn't really bother me because I mean that's just part of it.
yeah.
Um, prices are going up. They don't have any. That's that's the world we live in there. But the one thing I
That's it.
can't stand is how many advertisements they put before movies now. Which, don't
Yeah,
get me wrong, I know that's another source of income for
yeah.
the theaters, the people involved. I completely get that. Nowadays, I find they're so long. The movie theaters that you go to, where you are they the same way,
Yeah,
or?
yeah, yeah. And AMC just announced, AMC is the big exhibitor here in the US. They
I
just
don't.
announced that they're going to put even more commercials in front of the theaters now.
Yeah,
The screen.
Cineplex where I am, they haven't done that, but they've become longer. And
You're right.
there was a movie I went to back in December that it was the showtime. I think start time was at 6:45. So I said, okay, the movie's probably going to start about 7 o'clock ish.
Yeah,
Didn't start till I think about 7:30.
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, are
Unbelievable.
you kidding me? I just said it's just, it's one
Unbelievable.
of those things. I think that's also what's kind of killing it too, to a certain extent, is nobody wants to sit there and watch 30 minutes of trailers
Could
and
be,
commercials.
could be. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's adding to the, downturn in theaters. Yep, yep.
Yeah, there's lots of different things that are hurting it, but people gotta make money. That's it. I mean,
Yeah.
like you as a businessman, do you kind of agree with some of those things where just, hey guys, it's a business, money's money.
I'm sympathetic to the theaters, the exhibitors, because their business is drying up and it's very, very tough. I wouldn't want to be in the exhibitor business right now. So if more ads leads to more revenue, but it keeps the theaters open, I get it. I'm sympathetic to that.
Yeah, things. Yeah, that's one thing that I always try to remind myself. I'm like, these people got to eat.
Yeah, yeah,
These
yeah,
people got
yeah.
families to feed.
The doors got to stay open. Yeah,
Exactly. We want to keep coming here. It's not that we don't want to come here anymore. We want to keep coming here. We just want to see it better.
that's
Um,
right.
but it is what it is. That's our life now. But on a happier note, I'm excited for you and everything that you've done. What's coming up next for you and for Darius Films?
It's a good question. This business is very unpredictable. You never really know. The I'm working on a bunch of things. We'll see what happens over the next few months. What's completed and will be coming out. I have a channel on YouTube called Forget About It, spelled Fugget, Forget About It, which is an adult animated series that I co-created and executive produced is a ton of fun and I really enjoy it. And there's a great um, avid cult fan base on the show on YouTube. So that's available all the time, and I encourage people to go check it out. And then I completed a film just recently, about I think in May, sometime in May, we'd finished the last bits of post-production called 109 Billion Followers. And we're submitting that to film festivals throughout the fall. So hopefully that'll be out in some festivals in front of the public sometime later this year.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. That's really, really cool. Thank you, Nicholas, for providing your insight. It's always great to hear because we always lots of people who aren't involved in these industries and they think, oh, well, why can't they just do this? Why can't they just do that? It's great to hear from people who work in the industry who know like this is how it is, guys. This is the costs and money, and just that's how it is. And so I'm glad, it's always nice to talk to people who understand that side of things too. As frustrating as some things might be, we're able to sympathize with it on both ends. So thank you, Nicholas, for coming on the show
Thank
today.
you for having me on the show, Franky. I appreciated the conversation. Thank you for your insightful and thoughtful questions, and thanks for inviting me on.
Yes, my pleasure. My pleasure, Nicholas. So, guys, we are going to take a short break. We will be right back. But until then, this is Franky and Nicholas signing off. Cheers, Nicholas.
Bye.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Corkin Entertainment Show. That was me and Nicholas Tabarrok. Thank you, Nicholas, for coming on. And guys, be sure to check out Darius Films and see the amazing work that Nicholas has done. Thank you again, Nicholas, for coming on. I really appreciate it. So moving on to our solo segments today, the first one that I wanted to talk about is a show that I don't talk about at all, really. Primarily because I haven't seen it in years. I mean, not that I haven't seen any of it, like the older episodes, but like I haven't kept up with it in a long time. And that is The Simpsons. The Simpsons, it's going on like 40 seasons now. In my opinion, I think it's way past its prime, but I mean, it is what it is. I know we can very easily say that, oh, they should just cancel it and this and that, blah, blah. To me, I'm like, okay, it's... Would I have ended it? Absolutely, I would have ended it. But it's still going, and it's still relevant, so I'm sure they're just going to keep on going with it for as long as they can, because, I mean, it's a cash cow. Whether you would like to admit it or not, The Simpsons is a cash cow, and they don't want to let that cash cow die. But they're making headlines again. It's making everybody talk about the Simpsons again, and it's got me so interested that I went to go check it out myself personally. You guys are probably seeing headlines that Marge Simpson is dead. Apparently, she is, but not. This is all right. So I'm going to read this from CBC. Like, it's so funny. Literally everybody is talking about this. Like they just killed off Marge Simpson, blah, blah, blah. But when you actually look at it, it's not really her death. She's not dead. It's so funny. So this is from CBC. Why Marge Simpson's death suddenly has the viewers talking about The Simpsons again. So this is the season 36 finale. Crack open a Duff beer and pour one out for Marge Simpson, the blue-haired, raspy-voiced matriarch of The Simpsons who has left behind her beloved, but sometimes there's yet. News of Marge's death in the recent season finale may suddenly be trending, but it's likely not the last we've seen of the television's longest-serving mom. That's because it's not. Okay, so this is what it is. It was almost like a flash forward. It was a flash forward sequence where it's revealed that Marge is the first of the Simpsons family who dies. That's it. That's literally all it is. So it's kind of funny whenever you just have people who are just blasting these headlines saying Marge Simpson's dead, Marge is dead, blah, 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 blah. She's, okay, maybe technically, yes, but she's not yet. It's like years in the future. Through the season 36 finale aired, or through, my God, I can't even talk. Though the season 36 finale aired on May 18th, recent articles lamenting the loss have reinvigorated a conversation about a pop culture institution. Some critics say it is long past its prime. Which, I mean, to be fair, yes, The Simpsons has hit its peak. Any type of long-running show is gonna... That just comes with it. You know, like, no show is going to last forever. No show is going to be, or maybe not last forever. Like, maybe some shows just won't end. But in this case, every show that goes on for a long time, like The Simpsons, eventually the quality is going to deteriorate. And that just comes with you're doing the same thing, or not the same thing over and over again, but you're working on the same show for years, and that just happens. You know, to me, I don't think there's nothing really much you can do. So what happened to Marge in the episode titled "E Stranger Things" is a look into the future of the Simpson family in a world which brother and sister Bart and Lisa have drifted apart. In a flash forward, we learn that Marge's life was cut short. Marge passed before Homer, if you can believe it. Canadian musician Sarah McLachlan sings in the montage showing family and a few friends standing over her headstone that reads "Beloved Wife, Mother, and Pork Chop Seasoner." And we don't know exactly how or when Marge dies, but the plot moves 35 years ahead of the present day, when a very successful Lisa returns to Springfield to find a deadbeat Bart living in the family home with Homer, who was supposed to be residing in the same retirement home where his father Abe, a.k.a. Grandpa Simpson, had languished. And it says, "Don't worry about Marge, though her posthumous message, she looked forward to reuniting with Homer in heaven. She appears to have found a new love in the afterlife, Ringo Starr, her high school crush." So yeah, this isn't. She's not dead. She's not dead. I just find it kind of funny how they're always just saying, "Oh, she's gone for good." Blah blah blah. This isn't like in Family Guy when they killed off Brian, and it was just like boom, it was everywhere, and people were saying, "I'm going to quit watching Family Guy because of this," because Family Guy was kind of still relevant then. But if it happened today, people wouldn't give a shit. Or maybe they would, because I think this right here proves that there's still demand and interest for The Simpsons. Like the fact that this is making such headlines. You got CNN reporting this. You got CBC reporting it. Like, it's not even an entertainment news network. And they're reporting this like Marge Simpson is a real person who just died. Like the voice actress who plays Marge just died or something. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because, as I mentioned, it proves that The Simpsons is still relevant. And it proves to me that it doesn't matter if the show goes on for another 50 seasons or whatever the case may be. Anytime something even remotely big like this happens, it's going to spark immediate interest and everybody's going to go right to it and it's just going to blow up, which is what has happened right here. I mean, just trying to think about how many Simpsons articles over the last few years have really made such headlines like this. I mean, it's not like you're killing off Maud Flanders, which they did kill off Maud Flanders back in the early days of The Simpsons. But uh, from what I can remember, that didn't make like any big headlines or anything. Biggest headline I remember from The Simpsons, my favorite episode's probably the Who Shot Mr. Burns two-parter. That's a classic to me. And it's so crazy to just kind of look at people before that aired, because that one aired in like the 90s. So I'm just trying to think if before, like, when was the last time The Simpsons had something that was really like earth-shattering? It's interesting to, yeah, I'm not really sure, to be honest with you, but you know, we can all have our opinions on The Simpsons. We can all say, oh, it should have ended years ago, blah, 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 blah. But looking at this right here, it shows that people still are interested in it. It's still relevant. And, yeah, so it's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's got me talking about it again, so that's one thing. I haven't talked about The Simpsons on here in a long time, if at all. Have I covered The Simpsons on it? I can't remember now. If I haven't, I definitely have now, and that's because of this. So it shows it's it's still very front and center in our pop culture and in what we talk about. So, anyways, that's all I got for that. Definitely, guys, be sure to let me know your thoughts on the whole Marge Simpson situation. Is she gone for? It's funny we're saying, is she gone for good? She's not dead. Just kind of shows a flash forward, and that she is going to be the first Simpson family member to die. When that happens, are we going to actually see that, or is it just going to be one of those things where they just kind of retcon it, pretend it didn't happen? Who knows? But anyways, be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments. And so moving on to our last solo discussion topic today, is going to be another a topic about another show that maybe has gone on past its prime, but is still somewhat relevant. At least for me, anyway. I'm still a big fan of The Walking Dead and all the spin-offs and stuff like that. And so we just wrapped up on on the second season of Dead City, which is of course the Maggie and Negan spin-off series. And actually, I have a actor from Dead City coming on the podcast this Thursday, so stay tuned for that. He played Victor. Logan Schmucker is coming on the show on Thursday, and great. It was a terrific conversation. He was a great guy, and we had a lot to talk about. So I definitely wanted to make sure that it was its own episode, which is coming out on Thursday. So stay tuned for that. But talking about Dead City season 2, and my thoughts on it. So first off, Dead City is a show that, as soon as it was announced, I said, what the shit are they doing here? Like, they're doing a Maggie and Negan spin. Maggie's going to go off and travel New York with the guy who brutally murdered her husband. I said, what the hell kind of sense does that make? And so the first season, I was skeptical. I watched it, and I really, really enjoyed it. Like, season 1 was so, so good. And of all the spinoffs that have come out, Dead City's probably my favorite. I mean, that one's kind of difficult to say, because The Ones Who Live would have been my favorite, and then how the ending kind of turned out for that kind of soured it a little bit. So I kind of go back and forth on The Ones Who Live or Dead City, but I definitely prefer Dead City over Daryl Dixon, that's for sure. Now season 2, I did like season 2 a lot. I did like season 2. It had its problems. It wasn't as good as season 1. But I'm going to delve right into it right here. So I'm going to start with the pros. I'm going to go with the cons, and then I'm going to sum it all up with a score out of 10. So starting with the pros, we want to start positive in these reviews. So the first off is just, it's always the actors. The actors are always terrific. Jeffrey D. Morgan is just knocked it out of the park as always. It just felt like old school Negan was back, but he also wasn't, because this was a new Negan who was kind of being forced into being the old Negan again through the Dama and the Croat and all them. Lauren Cohan was excellent. The Croat, Jelko Ivanic, I think that's how you pronounce it. Lisa Emery. They were all terrific. They were all absolutely terrific this season. And I had to include this as its own thing, because it kind of goes with the acting thing, but then it also kind of just goes with the writing. Bruegel Kim Coates' Burgle absolutely stole the show this season. I think he is probably one of, if not the best villain we've ever had in the Walking Dead spinoffs. Only around for one season. Spectacular character. Like, what a spectacular character. And the fact that we're saying that about someone who was only around for, what, 8 episodes? Like, just a season? Like, wonderful. Just absolutely spectacular. He was, like, yeah. I just gotta say that. Yeah, Kim Coates, just, that's its own separate thing. You know, we have the acting, but then we have just Kim Coates' portrayal as Burgle. Just, he's a horrible person, but you like him because of how he is and how funny he is and how humorous he is. And it was just an absolute riot just to see him on screen. So, and he had a great send-off too. So there was no better way for him to go. I was a little disappointed that we didn't get more of him, but you know, that's kind of what we expect with this franchise now. He served his purpose, but there was just that part of me that wanted to see more. But that's it is what it is. Cinematography was off the charts, amazing. The visuals were absolutely fantastic, including the bear fight. The bear fight that was in episode 6. Some people say it looked bad, whatever. I don't care what anybody says. I thought that bear fight was amazing. I thought that fight was really, really good. And yeah, it was scary. It was because, I mean, we can't really relate to zombies, like being chased by zombies. Like, that doesn't happen to us every day, right? So just getting to see that with something that's like, oh shit, that, like, literally, I walk in the woods with my dog. This is something that could happen to me when I'm walking in the woods with my dog. You know what I mean? So it was just, it captured the fear. Lauren Cohan was great in that scene. And yeah, that was just absolutely spectacular. And visually and the effects and all the stuff of that, the CG was great. People can say what they want. I know Walking Dead has had some troubles with CG with the deer. Like in season, oh god, that was just terrible. If you don't know what I'm talking about, type in The Walking Dead CGI deer. You'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, the bear fight was terrific, and just the visuals and stuff like that as a whole. And subversion of expectations for certain parts. There were some parts that, you know, going into season 2, I was just like dead set on, okay, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, that's going to happen. A lot of it was completely not how I anticipated it going. A lot of it just completely took it in another direction, like the Croat story. Going into season 2, I'm like, the Croat's dead. He's going to be, you know, Negan's going to kill him, whatever, blah, blah. He actually kind of redeems himself and leaves, which I was actually kind of like, wow, that genuinely shocked me in a good way, you know? So that right there was good. Even the Dama lived. We had a fake out with her, which, you know, to me, it made sense. I know some people said it didn't really make sense that she got away. To me, it does. You know, at least she didn't walk away unscathed. Of course, she falls down and gets burned. And then later we find out she survived and she put another corpse in there. To me, that's believable. I mean, if she walked away completely unscathed, no burn marks or nothing like that, I'd be like, okay, really? Come on. But she at least walked away, like part of her hair is missing and she's got a big burn on her neck. So that right there made sense. So, yeah, a lot of subversion of expectations in this season. I mean, not just that, but there were a few other things. But so those are the pros. Now, like I said, no season's perfect. It's time to talk about the things I didn't like about the season, and there were quite a few. First off is the plot armor. The plot armor is just, like, out of this world. It gets so annoying. Literally, you have, I mean, we're what, 10, 15 years into the apocalypse now? And you have our main characters who are practically invincible show up, and this group who has survived for 15 years just all die. They literally all die. And there's walker attacks and stuff like that. But and like even in it's the second episode whenever Negan and them are shooting at New Babylon at the boats and stuff like that. Just miraculously, Maggie, Herschel, Jenny, you know, like the main characters, the Marshal, just magically survive, but everybody else dies. And I'm like, really? Like, even just get hurt or something, get shot? anything. Just it just makes it feel so like there's not really any stakes in a sense, just because we're going around just knowing that Maggie and Negan are going to survive. Like at the end of the season where Maggie stabbed Negan and it looked like she was going to lose him, I'm like, of course she's not going to kill him, because she stabbed Negan and his plot armor covered him, and then he was able to recover from the stab wound. So yeah, to me that always drove me nuts, and that drives me nuts about a lot of things. Not just in Walking Dead, but in shows in general, where it's just like everybody else around you dies, and then just miraculously the main character survives because plot armor. So there was a lot of that this season, and it just kind of drove me up a wall when it happened. I didn't like the Herschel and the Dama stuff. Now it could change going into season 3, but I don't like, they left a lot of questions. I don't like how, I get to a certain extent where Herschel's angry because Maggie is so focused on hating Negan, the guy who killed his father. And because of all that hatred, she's been kind of neglecting her parental duties, which, okay, I get that. I 100% understand that, and it makes sense. But I don't really get the whole Dama situation where it's like now he worships her and thinks she's like the greatest thing since sliced bread, for probably all she did was just, yeah, you were neglected. Yeah. Like, it feels like that's all she said. It just felt very, like, why would he follow her? Like, it's just like you have your mother and then you have some other woman who says, yeah, your mother's not very good to you, is she? And then you just magically, obviously there was more to it than that, but I don't know. To me, I'm just like, maybe if we see some more flashbacks, I can understand. Like, maybe season 3 will elaborate on that a little bit. But right now, I really didn't like how the Herschel and Dama thing worked out, because there was a lot of questions, and when they did try to resolve them, it just created even more questions, and then boom, the season was over. So if season 3 can elaborate on that, then maybe I'll feel differently about how it was handled this season. But right now, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that. Next one was I didn't like New Babylon's. New Babylon felt, and I said this in my when I did my review of the season 2 premiere, was that it felt their turn to villainy felt it didn't feel right. Like, just how all of a sudden they seem like a cool little community, and then all of a sudden, boom, they turn into like Nazi Germany. And to me, it felt off, but I said maybe I'll wait and see how it develops. It didn't really develop. It was just, to me, I was just like, why are these guys just suddenly turning evil and stuff like that? Like, to me, I wasn't really a fan of that personally. Just how it was just suddenly like, we're a nice community, and then boom, we're it literally turned into like like the Third Reich. Like, it was just And the last I'm going to say is there was a lot of wasted potential. There was a lot of wasted potential in this season. Such as, I didn't really like the whole thing of Negan sending his wife and son after they had brought them all the way from, where was it, Missouri or Tennessee, wherever the hell they came from. As soon as they show up to Manhattan, he sees them and goes tell them to turn back. And I'm like, okay, they came all this way, and you have the actress there. It's not like, at first, we when they arrive and we see them from a distance, I thought it was a stand-in. I said, okay, they're not showing up Annie or his son up close because it's not the actual actress. Turns out it was, and they had her come back for a hallucination scene. And so for me, I'm like, if you have the actress at your disposal, that's wasted potential right there. Why didn't you incorporate her in some way? Maybe they will in season 3. Like, there's a lot of unknowns right now, I guess. Like, these critiques could change when we see season 3, but as of right now, I'm just like, man, there was so much you could have done there. Even with Bruegel, like Bruegel, you really could have done a lot more with him. I mean, yes, he served his purpose and he was a great villain, stuff like that. But to me, I was like, yeah, you probably could have got, I pay to see more of Bruegel in season 3 than I would of like Dama next year. When we see season 3, but you take what you can get. It is what it is. Not everything's going to be exactly how you want it. But so yeah, that's my review of Dead City. So overall, in terms of a score, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's a solid season. It's not as good as season 1. You know, people hear 7.5 and they think, why did you hate it? No, 7.5 is good. 7.5 is good. Is just there were a lot of things that were kind of disappointing, such as, you know, certain storylines, the plot armor thing, and a lot of wasted potential. So that's my review of Dead City Season 2. Don't let me steer you away. If you liked it, great. I do like it. That's the thing. I do like the season. I'm actually in the minority of a lot of people. I'm actually surprised by how many people think this is... I heard someone say that this is Fear the Walking Dead level writing, and to me, I'm like, okay, that's kind of extensive. I wouldn't say that. Were there silly moments? Absolutely there was. But this there were problems, but I'm willing to you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm still loving Dead City, and you know, I am excited for season 3 much more than I am of Daryl Dixon. But so yeah, those are my thoughts there. Be sure to let me know your thoughts if you've seen it. And we're going to call it for the show today, guys. I want to thank my guest, Nicholas Tabarrok, for coming on. Be sure to look him up, Darius Films. And yeah, so thank you again, guys, for listening. We will see you in the next episode. Leave a nice little review, rating, whatever it is on this episode, if you liked it. And until then, this is Franky signing off. Have a great week, everybody.